Time now for the day's business news with Owen. Hello again, Owen. Starting with the markets, and we've got some heavy spending by the Japanese government, easing the fallout of that Moody's credit outlook.
We were just trying to do some shadow puppets there, weren't we, Claire? I think if that was one, we haven't really got much shadow on the set. Zero would be the interest rates for the Japanese government. That's the decision that they've come out with, to keep those interest rates at record lows and also pump an extra 11 trillion yen into the economy in a bond repurchase scheme. We've already seen the Japanese government do that a couple of times since the Fukushima disaster. We know the story since then. The yen just keeps on getting too hot against the dollar, so this will all help just to try and weaken the currency a bit. And that's largely what spared the Nikkei the fallout, as you say, from that Moody's assessment. In fact, the Nikkei did finish the day around 0.5% in the green, the Hang Seng following suit, but you can see the Shanghai Composite and the Kospi taking the brunt of the day's losses so far.
So moving now to turning our attention to Moody's credit outlook. The usual suspects are in there with these latest downgrades: Italy, Spain, Portugal. But you think that what Moody makes of France and the UK is what's really significant here? Yeah, because they're essentially taking issue with a lot of the assessments that those governments make about their economies. For example, Moody's says in its assessment for France, remember this is all about putting France on a negative watch. There's no suggestion that Moody's will follow through with it. But remember, France has already been through the mill just a month ago with Standard & Poor's downgrading France. It lost its sovereign, its AAA credit rating there. Now, what Moody's is essentially saying is that France is one of the most heavily indebted economies in the Eurozone. We knew that. We know also that President Sarkozy is trying to bring down those debt levels, trying to balance the budget, get France to have a budget deficit of just 3% of GDP within the next couple of years or so. But Moody's is saying, we're not sure you can do that in that time frame. And one of the reasons for that is there's so little room for manoeuvre right now. Remember that France, along with Germany, is the biggest guarantor of all this Eurozone debt. It's the biggest guarantor for countries like Greece. And Moody's is saying, if another big crisis blows up, if Greece goes to the wall, at the same time that you're trying to cut back all these things in your economy, you're going to have very little extra to try and spend on bailing out other countries. And that's a big concern. So Moody's giving a warning to France, the UK and Austria, and it's the first time since this Eurozone crisis started that the UK has been given such a warning. Yeah, in some ways it's a wake-up call for the UK economy, and yet if you talk to traders and analysts in London, they would have told you back when France was downgraded that it was only a matter of time before the UK follows suit. But again, it's just the UK being put on negative watch. Now, there are similar issues to France for Moody's. They're worried about the level of debt in the UK. We know that's coming down. There's a big austerity plan in full swing in the UK. But one concern by Moody's, again, is they're not really sure that the UK government is on target to bring that debt down. The UK government has made great play of bringing down and balancing its budget by around 2015. But Moody's is saying that UK debt will actually only peak at around that time and only start to fall in the years that follow, which is very much at variance with what the UK government is telling us right now about its spending plans. That said, you have to remember the UK is a huge safe haven right now. Many investors are flocking to the countries like the UK and Germany. In fact, you get negative yields on some UK debt, which is investors actually paying the UK government for the privilege of taking on its debt. A real reversal scenario there, and a good sign that maybe the UK isn't quite a busted flush just yet. Okay, let's now pick up on a bit of company news. Google's $12.5 billion buyout of Motorola Mobility Holdings has been approved by US competition regulators. The acquisition will give Google an additional 17,000 patents to add to its Android operating system. The deal has also been cleared by EU watchdogs. L'Oréal has announced that Liliane Bettencourt is leaving the board. The 89-year-old heiress to the French cosmetics giant is to be replaced by her 25-year-old grandson. The announcement was made as part of the firm's fourth quarter results that delivered a 9% rise in profits to €2.5 billion. And Vodafone has confirmed it's sizing up a £700 million bid for cable and wireless worldwide. The world's largest mobile phone group is looking at buying the fixed-line company so it can use its infrastructure to boost smartphone capacity. C&W Worldwide's share price shot up 45% to close just under £30 on the takeover news.
Next, is it a budget or a campaign manifesto for US President Barack Obama? It's probably a little bit of both right now. He set out his latest spending plans. The budget has polarized Americans over the past year or so, but that hasn't stopped Obama cranking up the rhetoric and indeed cranking up one of the most hotly disputed issues right now: how much tax the wealthiest Americans should pay. Catherine Viette has the story.
Outlining his vision for America, U.S. President Barack Obama unveiled his 2013 budget plan. His platform, economic fairness.
We've got a choice. We can settle for a country where a few people do really, really well and everybody else struggles to get by. Or we can restore an economy where everybody gets a fair shot, everybody does their fair share, everybody plays by the same set of rules, from Washington to Wall Street to Main Street.
The budget proposes raising $1.5 trillion over the next decade, with about half of that coming from allowing tax breaks on families earning more than $250,000 to expire. Obama also wants to put in place a rule named for billionaire Warren Buffett that calls for a minimum 30% tax on millionaires.
We don't need to be providing additional tax cuts for folks who are doing really, really, really well. Do we want to keep these tax cuts for wealthiest Americans, or do we want to keep investing in everything else? Education, clean energy, a strong military, care for our veterans. We can't do both. We can't afford it.
The budget outlines more than $350 billion in job growth steps, including $476 billion in spending to improve roads, railways, and airports over the next 6 years. Another $60 billion would be used to modernize schools, boosting construction jobs, and help states hire teachers and first responders. Obama would also impose a new tax on big banks aimed at recovering the cost of the financial bailout and providing money to help homeowners facing foreclosure. Congress can ignore the plan, and Republicans, who control the House of Representatives, have made clear that it will be dead on arrival as their party prepares an election battle over taxes, spending, and the size of government.
Bit of leisurely reading there, that massive budget.
They are enormous, aren't they?
Hundreds and hundreds of pages.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't have to go through it all.
All right, thanks very much, Owen, for that look at the day's business news. And thank you for watching. Do stay tuned to France 24.
Live from our studio, a debate on the subject of the day with experts, newsmakers and observers. For political or economical issues and questioning society, join us for analysis and in-depth talk. The Debate, Monday to Thursday at 7 p.m. Paris time on France 24.